Welcome to the Tyler Werner Show, discussing all the latest in Philadelphia sports.
As we move into the month of May, in the Philadelphia sports world, it is a bit of a down week as the Philadelphia 76ers come out maybe rusty in Game 1, the second round of the NBA playoffs against the Boston Celtics. Does this make Game 2 a must-win up in Boston before the Sixers bring it back home for the series? The Philadelphia Phillies, meanwhile, have lost 4 of their last 5 games. Hitting has really been an issue with the ball club. And the NFL draft, well, for the Philadelphia Eagles' sake, I mean, all right, they got a tight end, perhaps to be the second stringer to Zach Ertz, maybe share that role with Richard Rodgers, but other than that, I mean, it was kind of not too much from it on the Philadelphia Eagles' end. But then again, they're one of the favorites to go back and win the Super Bowl again this year, so I guess can't complain too much about that, right? Well, we'll break it down nonetheless.
And now, here's Tyler Werner.
Oh, yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Tyler Werner Show here in the midst of May. Yes, May 2nd. We're coming off of a rather warm couple of days here in the Delaware Valley. And summer is knocking on the door. Got some summery weather today, as a matter of fact, up near the 80s. So, we're moving in. We're moving in to the days of summer. But other than that, not too many good things to talk about, at least for right now. Within the last week of the Philadelphia sports world. Now, doesn't mean I'm ready to jump off a cliff or anything after that first loss to the Boston Celtics by the 76ers on Monday night. I don't know, is it panic worthy? I gotta admit, I'm kind of shocked that they lost by 16 points. I mean, the line in Vegas was, it was all Sixers. But I guess I look at that first game, and the Sixers, maybe they're just a little rusty. And maybe I was guilty of thinking, they're going to be well rested. You know, that 5-game rally over the Miami Heat. Going to get an extra few days of rest as compared to the Boston Celtics, who, eked out a 7-game series in the first round of the playoffs. But, they're right back at it at home. And the Sixers, they kind of got caught with their pants down. They did not look prepared. They were defensively. I mean, Boston's not, especially without Kyrie Irving. I mean, Boston's not necessarily a juggernaut of a scoring team. And I mean, the perimeter game, which the Celtics are usually not that, you had Marcus Smart out there draining a few threes, and I don't know. It just wasn't. It wasn't very Sixer-like, that's for sure. And I'm not in panic mode. It's disappointing that they lost that game on Monday night. I think Thursday night, it's sort of a must-win, in a sense, for the Philadelphia 76ers, and I think they will.
I agree.
Heading into this series, I'm thinking, the Sixers, I see the Sixers maybe winning this in 6 games. It's a little more challenging than the Miami Heat. And I still think the Sixers in 6 games very well comes true. They take care of business. They bounce back after that Game 1 blunder, and they defeat the Celtics up in Boston, and then they bring it back to Philadelphia. And that's where a chance for the Sixers to, maybe go up 3-1. Maybe they lose Game 5, but close out the series in Game 6. That's kind of how I see this going. I mean, I was a little shocked. I mean, it never seemed like the Sixers were in this game. That's kind of what puzzles me. I mean, they were down 11 at halftime, and they just never... I mean, each quarter, Boston outscored them. Boston controlled the game. And other than Joel Embiid, I mean, you didn't have a guy who's really, draining the buckets. Whereas, again, the Celtics, they had, Jason Tatum, Horford, Rozier, they were, like no tomorrow. The perimeter game was really working for the Celtics, and the Sixers, I don't know, they just, again, they kind of got caught with their pants down. So, I got to think that they come out more prepared Thursday. A few extra, they're going to look at the tape, they're going to break it down. And they're going to come out tomorrow night and pull out a win. Might not be easy, but they're going to pull it out. And they're going to tie up the series. They're going to bring it back to Philadelphia. And at the end of the day, they should win this series. And it'll be disappointing if they don't. That's the bottom line to me. I mean, again, this is a Sixers team. This is their second loss in what? In like a month and a half? Whenever that massive 16-game winning streak that they carried into the playoffs and then lost one to the Miami Heat. This is their second loss in how many weeks? It's weird. We're not, as of late, we're not used to talking about a week where the Sixers lost a game. Or at least where the Sixers, they lost a game and they're down in the series 1-0. But again, it's a 7-game series. I'm not ready to jump off the cliff or anything. Not getting in this whole fire Brett Brown thing yet again.
It was a smorgasbord.
I guess I'm in that kind of, that Aaron Rodgers mode. That RELAX.
5 letters here. RELAX. Relax. We're going to be okay.
Was I going to throw in an extra L in there or something? I don't know. I'm not ready to... if they lose game 2, then, Thursday, then you got a bit of a panic situation. But not after this first game. I got to think that Brett Brown, this Sixers team, they're going to have more of an answer. And I'll tell you what might be more of an answer. You get freaking Markelle Fultz out there. And come on, this is the big boy league. I don't understand this whole thing where he's not going to play or he's not up to play. I don't know what it is. But come on, get him out there and play him. Meanwhile, you got a rookie over in Celtics world that's lining up, and Markelle Fultz was the chosen one from the Sixers here. Let's get him out there. All right? So, elsewhere in the Philly sports world, of course, we had the NFL draft. But it wasn't, I don't know, it wasn't monumental. I mean, last year again, it was a much bigger deal here in Philadelphia, for one thing. Just that alone. I mean, you really felt it last year. It was a special NFL draft. I mean, every NFL draft is usually a big deal, especially when you're not used to having this Eagles team win the Super Bowl and having finished 13-3 the season prior. Usually, we're used to this thing where the Eagles, they're somewhere in the teens or maybe higher, and they have an important first-round pick to make, an important first-round decision to make in the draft. And then they, second, third round, they got other important needs to fill. This year, I mean, you obviously didn't have that vibe with the whole draft in general. I mean, let's face it. There wasn't, I mean... Now, I know there was the whole thing with the David Akers trolling the Dallas Cowboy fan base in attendance. And, while the point, a lot of these, the punchline was, these draft picks, they weren't even born the last time the Dallas Cowboys were in a Super Bowl. It was just the delivery, I guess. I don't recall David Akers having that high pitch of a voice. I mean, maybe I don't recall him really speaking in that kind of venue. This is like that professional wrestling kind of venue, if you will. Where, it's the guy raising their voice, and like it kind of like Nick Foles at the Pro Bowl several years ago.
How's everyone doing? Let's make some noise. Come on.
Like, it didn't seem like a natural Nick Foles kind of situation. David Akers, he's like, I mean, I didn't recognize him at all. I close my eyes. I don't think, a football player comes to mind when I hear that speech. So I guess maybe they added a little something to the NFL draft on the comedic end or whatever, but I don't know. David Akers they bring out. They bring out a kicker to do that trolling. Oh, my. Well, it is what it is. The Philadelphia Eagles, the draft, we'll talk about. We'll actually hear from some anonymous NFL scouts on thoughts of the Philadelphia Eagles draft picks. Because as far as I'm concerned, I don't know. Like, I heard Mel Kiper, who's one of these main NFL draft guys year after year, I think supposedly graded this Eagles draft an A-. All right. I mean, I look at this draft and look, but I'll preface it by saying I'm not. To me, this draft, it doesn't mean so much at all. Given where the Eagles are at, given the Eagles are coming off of a Super Bowl championship, and given right here on this show last week, I picked them to win 12 games this year, so I think they're in all right shape regardless. But I'm not getting carried away at all with this draft. I mean, for one thing, some of the picks that they didn't have at their expense, due to the Carson Wentz trade, amongst other things, they got one player out of this draft, at least right now. So I'm not really impressed or anything with this draft. I could be wrong. I mean, in the 7th round they draft this 6'8" supposed beast of an athlete, 345 pounds, that can run a 5-second 40. And that's great. I see I see what gets I see what he can do on tape and yada yada in rugby. But he hasn't played football. He's going to be going up against guys, about the same size, and he's not going to be running a football. He's going to be blocking guys. He's going to be going up monstrous linemen in this NFL. I mean, that's great. What he's capable of in rugby, where he's running over guys half his size, that's great. He's got great speed. All well and dandy. But I'm not ready to go crazy over the Jordan Mailata pick. So, other than that, I mean, what did the Eagles, what did the Eagles really get out of this draft? I don't know. We'll talk about it. This weather, I'll tell you what, it just makes you want to take a deep breath. But anyhow, this heat too. I mean, geez. Kind of hitting us over the head. And I'll tell you what's not hitting lately, and that's the Philadelphia Phillies. I mean, again, a couple weeks ago, what was it, like 7 in a row they won, or 7 of 8? Phillies really, like I said before, might come back down to earth a little bit. I mean, they were winning games. I mean, they were what? I mean, weren't they 16-8 at one point? Or close to that. Phillies did 2 back-to-back losses against the Marlins. I'll tell you what. I mean, they hit more than the Marlins in yesterday's 2-1 loss, but they just can't get the runs. Phillies now 3 games over 500, and again, at one point, I think they were 8 games over 500. 8 or 9, I forget. I'd have to go back, but back-to-back losses against the Marlins, who supposed to be an inferior team here, and they lose 8-4 against them on Monday. And really, the pitching was just poor in that. I mean, they gave up 13 hits that game. Sunday, 10-1 loss against the Braves. At that point, that evened up the records between them. But, I mean, really, it just... Phillies in a little bit of a down cycle here. I don't know if it's a sign of more losses to come, or for a down cycle to continue, but like I said, maybe just coming back down to earth a little bit. It wasn't very long ago, it seemed, though, that they were tied with the Mets for first. Well, we'll talk about it right here on the Tyler Werner Show. We got, well, of course, we don't have Flyers hockey to talk about after being eliminated in the first round. And like I said, I wasn't disappointed in that series loss. But I was a little disappointed in how the fan base handled it last year with the beer cans. Whether they're throwing them at the Penguins or whatever. Come on. It's just... But now, as per ESPN report, we have some Claude Giroux statement that he made last week about playing in the home ice. We'll talk about it. We'll get into it on the other side right here in the Tyler Werner Show. Stay tuned for more after this.
I'll have some skirt steak, some brisket, Little piece of that New York steak, a couple of them steak fingers, and a burger.
You've known for a long time that you were going to have to get real about fat or stay real fat. It didn't get that way by accident or by some outsider's doing.
Put some macaroni and cheese on there, too. Is there any chicken fried steak left?
Your weight just keeps creeping up or maybe even shooting sky high.
3 slices of pecan pie and 2 cups of coffee.
You have a decision to make. You know it, and so do I.
Yes, all right.
You need prescription diet pills or other diet aids to lose weight.
Okay, Rocco, pretend I'm the girl that you want to ask out on a date.
How about maybe you and I, maybe we go out together, get something to eat, I don't know, maybe laugh a little bit, who knows, you know? I don't know, would you like to maybe, you want me to go out together? What do you think? Would you like to?
You need to make more eye contact and you sound way too nervous.
You want to hear me say it? You want to break me down? All right, I'm afraid. For the first time in my life, I'm afraid.
Having a tough time asking out ladies? You need to see Clubber Lang for a lesson.
Hey, woman. Hey, woman. I bet you stay up late every night dreaming you had a real man, don't you? I tell you what, bring your pretty little self over to my apartment tonight, and I'll show you a real man.
Build confidence with the ladies like never before with Clubber Lang's dating services. The most highly recommended in all of the Delaware Valley.
I am ranked number 1. That means I'm the best.
Oh yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is, I think it was 88 degrees today up here in Berks County area, Pennsylvania. I think tomorrow, near the record of 90. I mean, it's a bit of a heat wave we're in the midst of here to kick off the month of May. And, I mean, technically that Monday night game, the 76ers, was still in April. Hopefully the month of May can kick off for the 76ers with a win against the Boston Celtics tomorrow. And look, like I said, I'm not expecting this Sixers team, to go win the NBA championship this season. But like I said, I think they're capable of getting to the NBA Finals. That was the general consensus last week. You were with Stephen A. Smith, amongst other NBA guys or ESPN guys. And it was a disappointing start to the series. But the Sixers have a chance to bounce back, and I think they will tomorrow night when they have Game 2 against the Boston Celtics. Like I was saying before the break, Claude Giroux, late last week, basically said, booing fans may have caused Flyers to press it home. Yes, because the Flyers, so much for home ice advantage, right? Flyers lost all 3 of their first-round playoff games at home to the Pittsburgh Penguins. Again, it's a shame that the Flyers couldn't at least muster up a home ice win against the Penguins. Lost the series in 6 games, like I would have expected. But last week, actually it was only last Wednesday already almost a week ago, but we didn't get a chance to talk about it. Captain Claude Giroux said that the team may have tried too hard at home, pressing in part because of the boos coming from the Flyer fans. Claude went on to say, I think when it's not going very well, fans, they can get a little, start booing us and stuff. That's when we try to do too much, Giroux told reporters, according to the Philadelphia Inquirer. On the road, we don't really get that. We have our game plan at the start of the game, and we can carry on for 60 minutes. All right, first response there. He was then asked a follow-up question, but just addressing that for, boos, listen, like, booing should, I don't know how I phrase this. It shouldn't necessarily be like, oh, we gotta, do this for the fans, and like, booing should get you fired up, getting in your teammates' faces. At least that's what I think. Like, it shouldn't be this, like, oh, we're trying too hard to please the fans kind of thing. I mean, it's like a cop-out excuse as to why you guys lost 3 games, all 3 games at home against the Penguins. Let's see. All right. But then on the road, don't really get we have our game plan, the start of the game, and we carry on for 60. Like, you can't. It's like the boos are getting in their head negatively, according to Claude Giroux. You can't have that. That's not comforting to know. You got to be able to filter that out. Or use it as like, you know what? They're like, getting in players' faces as to what needs to be fixed. All right, here's the I guess here's the follow-up. I think sometimes, I'm not saying every game, but some games at home, it wasn't going our way. And sometimes it can happen like that. You can have a bad start. You can be down 1 or 2-0. You keep going the same way you planned on playing the game. That wasn't the case. We kind of changed our game. We tried to do a little too much. Trying to do somebody else's job instead of going out there and playing the game. All right, so there's that, and then on the contrary, Sean Couturier, who had a rather decent playoff campaign, I guess, while it lasted. Sean Couturier, on the other hand, so there's some nights they probably had the right to boo us. We were bad enough and we probably deserved it. I don't really think it had an effect on the results of our home record. I think we're a tight group and we kind of shut it off. So there you go. Yeah, there's some nights they probably had the right to boo us. We were bad enough and we probably deserved it. Don't really think it had an effect on the results of our home record. So, yeah, I don't know. It's like Claude Giroux used the booing as if their own fans are getting in the Flyers' head. And that changed their game. They tried to do a little too much to please the fans. I don't know. I know it. These Penguins games at Philadelphia at the Wells Fargo Center, they're going to be rabid. The fans are going to be rabid for them. Since there is this hatred for Sidney Crosby, and even though he's the best player in the game, and that if he played for this Flyers team, you would love him to death. Because maybe the Flyers would then have at least a Stanley Cup for the first time in 43 years. Just saying. But Claude Giroux, I mean, he's the captain of this team.
I agree.
I mean, come on, man. It can't be. Like, when the Flyers. Like, what about that game 6? The Flyers were up 2 goals. I mean, it looked like they were, they were churning that game. Like, they were poised to take it to game 7. What happened in the third period? Explain that one. I don't understand it. I don't. When you fumble away that 2-goal lead in the third period, The Flyer fans have every right to boo you. They don't have a right to throw beer cans out on the ice after the game's over and after the season's over. No. But yeah, I would be pissed off too if that happened. I mean, they were up 2 and then they end up losing 8-5 or whatever. I mean,
I am pissed off.
Yeah. But to blame the fans, maybe not blame the fans, but to let the booze get in your head. Come on. After having an NHL League MVP caliber season, which I know a lot of Flyer fans lamented, didn't end up being Claude Giroux. But what are you going to do? What are you going to do? It's not the end of the world. Claude Giroux had a great bounce back season, but these comments were just kind of, come on. Little ridiculous. So that's all we have in Flyers world for right now. Meanwhile, in the NHL playoffs, let's face it, these teams playing, Flyers aren't quite on that level. So I'm not gonna pound sand over that first round exit, but just those comments with Claude Giroux and the Flyers throwing beer cans and whatnot. I mean, that was just disappointing. But aside from that, in the NHL playoffs right now, Winnipeg Jets had the lead on the Predators, 2-1, after yesterday's 7-4 victory over the Preds. Meanwhile, the Vegas Golden Knights, overtime win Monday, 4-3 over the Sharks. They lead that series. Tonight, however, they're taking on the Sharks late at 10 o'clock, so by the time this podcast is posted, Game 4 will have been played. But Washington leads the Capitals 2-1 after a big 4-3 win yesterday. They'll take each other on Thursday at 7, and Washington with the lead. Well, let's see. Because there's been times where they've had a lead on the Penguins in a series, but then frittered it away. And the Penguins typically have been that thorn in the Capitals' side in playoff hockey. Boston and the Tampa Bay Lightning, of course, they're in action as well in Game 3. As they're tied 1-1 as of right now, as I'm speaking. The puck's about to drop, as a matter of fact, as of the recording of this podcast. And so for now, that's pretty much what we got in the NHL playoffs. Nobody's out to a 3-0 or 2-0 lead or anything in any series. They're all either tied or 2-1 series as I speak. Basically, 3-2-1 series. And then after tonight, between the Boston Bruins and the Lightning, it's going to be a 2-1 series there. As well as the Vegas Golden Knights. That Golden Knights win tonight. They move to 3-1 and yada yada. But again, once this is posted, that's unfortunately going to be out of date anyways from what I'm saying. So then again, sometimes what does it mean what I say? Anyhow, in the NBA playoffs, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, the Golden State Warriors, they have a 2-0 lead over the Pelicans after the Pelicans swept their first round series against the Trailblazers, and it shouldn't surprise me. Shouldn't surprise anybody. They're up 2-0 in that series. The Cleveland Cavaliers get last night. Overtime win, eking out the Raptors 113 to 112. And, yeah, I mean, I think Stephen A. Smith, as much as I, may have ripped him last week, I know he had the Cleveland Cavaliers in the finals, upsetting the Raptors here. Maybe that's the case. I don't know. We'll see what the Raptors were able to do in Game 2 in that series. It went to overtime, so anything can happen. Houston Rockets took care of Game 1. They're taking on the Jazz again tonight. And, of course, your Philadelphia 76ers play tomorrow. It's kind of been one of the obvious focal points of this show. As the Sixers, I got to think they get it together and they win Game 2. It's kind of a must-win game. I mean, they go down 2-0 in this series. Then it's just, then maybe it's a question of, is this Sixers team, I don't know. Does Boston have their number? Is Boston maybe the better team, even without Kyrie Irving? Well, I would hope that would be the case because, again, this Sixers go out in the semifinals here, the conference semifinals, when last week it was all about NBA finals, making that appearance. And then in the offseason, maybe signing that free agent, maybe with the initials LJ. And maybe we're talking NBA champion favorites? I don't know, but it would be a disappointment, regardless, to me, if they lose this series to the Boston Celtics. That's me. I don't know what to say. I know there's the whole thing with I know it's before that big winning streak. We were saying, oh well, the Sixers are, maybe a 6 seed, first round exit in the playoffs. Well, things change when progress is seen. Maybe progress that wasn't foreseen, but nevertheless, what we've seen recent weeks with the Sixers, it really makes me think this Sixers team is coming along well. And with this sort of wide open Eastern Conference, the Sixers look like the best team. Well, unfortunately, they didn't on Monday night. But I think they bounce back. Hopefully, I keep saying this, and take care of Game 2. Because if they don't, then, you're in a 2-0 hole in the series, and you can't have that and expect to come back and win 4 of the next 6 against the Celtics. But I guess stranger things can happen. Or did I say... No, it'd be 4 of 5 you'd have to win, not 4 of 6 at that point. NFL draft. Since the Phillies, again, we've... last week, I thought they came down to earth a little bit after the Diamondbacks took care of them, kind of knocked them down a peg in that series. And that was, mind you, that was coming off the heels of a, nice sweep of the series over the Pirates. But in this case, it wasn't a very good week for the Phillies. The Braves have their number, and that's the bottom line. And unfortunately, the Phillies have coughed 2 up against the inferior Miami Marlins. And so, I don't know. Things are evening out a little bit. Next, we have the anonymous scouting reports, I guess, the lowdown, if you will, on the Philadelphia Eagles and their draft, their 2018 draft, which again, I mean, you know, what is there to say so much about it? Like I said, they got Dallas Goedert in the second round. They traded out of their number 32 overall pick. I'm not surprised.
I mean, they're sexy, right? You know?
Mr. Howie Roseman. I mean, even kind of teased that, I believe. Like, they were open for business, I think is basically what he was saying. Leading into the draft, with that 32. So, shouldn't be any surprise there. Dallas Goedert, who again, I mean, I guess de facto second round replacement, or second round pick, but second stringer for Zach Ertz. At least that's how I speculate. Maybe he'll share that role with Richard Rodgers, kind of. Maybe like a Trey Burton, Brent Selleck kind of thing. But we'll see. We'll talk more on the other side. We had last break here. More on the Tyler Werner Show. We'll be back right after this.
It's no big news flash that many people, you included, eat as a way to medicate themselves. You can choose to worry about it or not. You can choose to panic about your situation or not. It's clear what you must do in order to make important changes.
5 letters here. RELAX. Relax. We're going to be okay.
In order for you ever to effectively figure out and map how to get to where you want to go, you have to first know exactly where you are starting.
RELAX. Relax.
You have to be willing to change what you're doing. You can change your behavior.
The champion of game day catering is the official meatball of the Tyler Werner Show, Brady and Belichick's slow-cooked Italian meatballs.
We prepare our balls over time, and that's the essence of the preparation.
On top of that, another trademark of Brady and Belichick's slow-cooked Italian meatballs is Brady's signature rubbing process.
When I pick balls out, to me, they're perfect. I don't want anyone touching the balls after that. I don't want anyone rubbing them. To me, those balls are perfect.
What is a concern is the texture of the balls, and again, that's the point that Tom hit on hard.
The champion of all game day catering dishes is Brady and Belichick's slow-cooked Italian meatballs, the official meatball of the Tyler Werner Show.
And we're still here on the Tyler Werner Show. We close things out. Third final segment. This first edition in the month of May. A beautiful day it was. Has been today and yesterday. Things are heating up. Things are heating up in the NBA playoffs with the 76ers with that must-win Thursday. And I guess in the NFL offseason, things heated up a little bit with this this NFL draft. I mean, did it really? I don't know. It really, compared to last year, when it was in Philadelphia, and when the draft actually seemed to mean a little more from that 7-9 season. Well, back-to-back 7-9 seasons, but again, another season where there were holes to fill. And there were very, maybe, I don't know, but some crucial defensive holes to be filled. Picks to be made. This year, it's just kind of, again, it was just kind of, whatever. But by the same token, I wasn't too impressed with this on the Eagles' end, even with having not so many early round picks. There just wasn't anything that grabbed me about this draft with the Philly. And some people, I don't know. Let's hear from anonymous NFL scouts. This was from this article from Bleeding Green Nation. This is anonymous scouts weigh in on the Eagles' 2018 NFL draft picks. All right, starting with Dallas Goedert here. 6'4.5", 256 out of South Dakota State. Played 9-man football in Britain, San Diego before walking on. One scout said he's got some Jason Witten-like qualities. People think of Witten now as an annual Pro Bowler, but he slipped in the draft. Goddard has the size, the athletic body control, the hands. He'll improve as a blocker. The most complete tight end in the draft, according to another scout. Small school product with immense size and soft hands, a third scout said. He'll have to learn how to block more and be more explosive. He can go vertical. He's going to have to learn to take the next jump to the pros, but he's got a lot to work with. Wonderlic score of 34, improving 9 points from his first attempt. I'm sure he can get better than he is blocking, but he doesn't have much interest in it, a fourth scout said. He's got a brain where he should be able to block. Finished with 198 catches for nearly 3,000 yards and 21 touchdowns in college. So, I mean, yeah, general consensus, elite receiving talent. An ESPN insider said Doug Peterson learned from Andy Reid and that Travis Kelce in Kansas City, they know how to use that talent. And according to the ESPN, he's coming into the NFL at a perfect time when blocking is pretty much an afterthought for tight ends. And I guess it kind of is for Zach Ertz. And Zach Ertz, one of the best tight ends in the game right now. All right. So like I said, yeah, good pick. All right, let's go next. Their next pick, Avonte Maddox. From an NFC executive, he's really shooting up the board in our building. Great tester, but he shows it on tape with how athletic he is in coverage. I know our position coach thinks he can get a lot better with some work on his technique. He projects to be a slot corner in the NFL, but expecting him to make an instant impact might be too ambitious. And yeah, I mean, a slot corner is maybe something that the Eagles were needing. And he only played 40 snaps in the slot in his last 2 years at Pitt, as according to Pro Football Focus. So, I guess a project player at nickel corner for the Philadelphia Eagles. Josh Sweet, who ranked 12th overall in McGinn's edge rusher rankings. Defensive end out of Florida State. 4 scouts discussed his left knee first when his name was mentioned. He's got knee problems, said one scout. He's going to fall big time. He could only practice once a week in college. He's a talented dude. Good player. Let's see. Enough about his knee. Sweetened his credentials at the Combine with a fast 40-yard dash at 4.53. 39.5-inch vertical jump and a 10.3 broad jump. He reminds me of the guy from there who went to the Ravens. Peter Boulware, that was. Built like him. He's got that kind of takeoff, one scout said. Best pass rushing off the edge. He can flip and burst around the corner. He's kind of small, but he flashes some edge rush stuff, another scout said. Plays hard, not very strong, not very big. So, I guess, a speedy edge rusher. According to ESPN, another exec called fourth-round defensive end Josh Sweet a freak of nature who could be a grand slam if healthy. It's like what they did with Sidney Jones last year. They have that aggressive mentality. They make aggressive decisions. I mean, the fact, though, that he could only practice once a week in college, that concerns me. Intriguing speed, I guess, talent, but I don't know. You can only practice once a week in college? It seems a little extreme in, this NFL where the players are only bigger and faster and stronger. All right, Matt Pryor. From an NFC regional scout. Talented, but he's got the reputation for being a little bit lazy. If you knew he would keep his weight down and take the preparation seriously, I think you would have a pretty good player. You just don't know if he has that kind of football character. So, this regional scout is saying he's lazy. Oh my. All right, here's some notes on the Pryor pick. Let's see. Boasts an overall 2017 grade of 85.2. This is from Pro Football Focus, of course. A 98.2 pass blocking efficiency, allowing 26 total pressures on 1,329 pass blocking snaps in 3 years. Interesting. But he's lazy, according to... I don't know. 6'7", 332. Wow. Going to have to compete for a roster spot, according to Shield Kapadia. Jeff McClain. Have seen various listings of Matt Pryor's size. He reportedly once ballooned to nearly 400 pounds. NFL.com lists him at 6'7", 332.
Oh, man.
400, I don't know. I guess we'll see what kind of weight he's at come training camp and thereafter. I don't know. All right. Jordan Mailata. Hopefully I pronounced that right. I can't guarantee that I did. But all right. Jordan Mailata.
Who is this?
An NFC executive had to say about this 7th round pick. Big dude, athletic. Someone will draft him late, and he's a project, but very much a freak athlete for his size. So the rugby man, 6'8", 345 pounds, runs that 5.0 40-yard dash. Goes down under to introduce, at PS Shrags, goes down under to introduce us to the most fascinating prospect of the 2018 draft. And, yeah, like, there's this video on Twitter, NFL on ESPN. And, yeah, like I said, he's got speed. And in rugby, yeah. Yeah, he's running guys over that are obviously much smaller than him. And that's great. But this is going to be the NFL. And that's not to say, like, that's not to put down rugby and all straight, because this is different. Rugby stud, maybe, I mean, how does that necessarily translate to the NFL when it comes to facing linemen. He's not going to be carrying the football and running over guys half his size. Maybe, again, I don't know, a project player. They're going to fine-tune him to what he's going to be doing in the NFL, but I don't know. Remains to be seen. And I'm not expecting much out of this pick. But lastly, Josh Adams. 12th running back in this year's class, according to the article. Third-year junior. Ran the fastest short shuttle by a running back. Strong, aggressive runner, said one scout. One cut downhill style. Effective receiver out of the backfield and a good pass blocker. Efficient guy. 2-year starter. 481 carries for 3,198 yards and 20 touchdowns to go with 41 receptions for 336 yards. One team is close to removing him from consideration because of his, and again, these are all obviously before the draft. These are what scouts said before these players were chosen. He is super stiff, said a second scout. Not elusive, can't make cuts. Willing in pass pro, but his stiffness hurts him. He's an upright runner that runs fast and hard. I don't see a very long career. There's a place for him because he's big and fast, and he's a one-cut guy. Again, injury concern with him. Adams dodged questions about his health status at Notre Dame's Pro Day. He's got a foot problem that's apparently going to need some surgery. That's going to hurt him a little bit, Mayock said. There you go. Mike Mayock, of course, got to be in here somewhere with Draft Talk. I thought he was a third-day prospect, and I think the foot thing is going to hurt him a little bit. But with his height-weight-speed ratio, he has a chance. Well, the Eagles took him rather late in the draft. Maybe he has the potential to contribute in the running back rotation if he stays healthy and performs well in camp this summer, but remains to be seen. I look at this draft and I didn't see a whole lot that the Eagles got here. Yeah, I mean, okay, maybe project players, but I don't know. What say you on the Philadelphia Eagles 2018 NFL Draft? I mean, I think they did fine enough in free agency that I'm content with where this Eagles team is. And again, coming off that Super Bowl victory, it's hard not to be happy with, in general, where they're at. I was maybe thinking they'd take a running back earlier in the draft if they could, but maybe next year they worry about that. Jay Ajayi, is he a long-term answer at running back? Maybe not. Yeah, is he the starter this year? Yeah. I think him and Corey Clement, they're going to bring Sproles back on a 1-year deal. So Sproles not retiring.
Bingo Sproles! Bingo Sproles!
After that unfortunate season-ending injury he suffered early last season. Coming back, I guess, for one more rodeo with the Philadelphia Eagles. And, hey, I'm not going to complain about that. So you got Sproles. You got, I guess, maybe Smallwood behind him. And, again, you got Jay Ajayi and I think Corey Clement as your main two guys here going forward. So, for now, the running back situation is it's fine for right now. Maybe next year is a year where maybe they place more consideration getting a running back in the draft. Early in the draft. We'll see. Now, I just before I wrap up things on the Tyler Werner Show today, I realized sometime after last week's podcast, I mentioned that I had, I guess, an interesting announcement that I'm excited about in regards to Carson Wentz. And that is, I'm going to get to see Carson Wentz speak in Lancaster. Yep, over here in Lancaster County, the Lancaster Convention Center. A guy I know in the radio business in the Lancaster area gives me a call the other week ago. Says, hey, what are you doing Wednesday, May 23rd? Clear your schedule if you can. Because I know how you are with the Philadelphia Eagles. And we have, at this Lancaster Chamber dinner, he, gets the station he works for, this business chamber thing. He's going to, hook me up with the ticket there at their table. And the tickets for this thing were going for like a few $100. So
it's crazy. It's crazy.
I'm going to get to see, this is going to be great. I'm going to get to see Carson Wentz speak at this event for free, basically. This dinner, I know there's going to be like cocktail hour. There's going to, bottles of wine free, basically, delivered at every table. So that's going to be great. That's coming up 3 weeks from today. So I don't know. Maybe I don't know if I can get some kind of audio on my phone of that. I don't know. Maybe share it exclusively here on the Tyler Werner Show. But that'll be something. That'll be something as we move through the month of May here on the Tyler Werner Show. Looking forward to that. Seeing Carson Wentz speak. And yeah, that's what I forgot to mention last week, and why I forgot, how I forgot. I don't know. Because it's exciting thinking about, and it's coming up in a few weeks. So looking forward to that. That was it. That wraps things up on this week's edition of the Tyler Werner Show. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Have a great week. Enjoy the weather, the warmer weather. If it does so apply to you in this area or wherever you are, maybe already enjoying warmer weather on a more regular basis than we do here in Pennsylvania. We'll talk to you next time on the Tyler Werner Show. Everybody have a great rest of your week. Facebook.com/Tyler Werner Show.